Let me share something that still brings tears to my eyes. When Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans back in 2005, something deep inside told Sandra Bullock that her future child was connected to that place. It felt strange at the time. Was it intuition or something more spiritual? She believes those two things are really the same. She doesn't see any separation between them. And while some people enter the world surrounded by privilege and ease, others find their way into it later on. That's exactly what happened with Louis Bardo Bullock. This young boy could have grown up in Louisiana facing all kinds of challenges from a tough environment and limited opportunities, but Sandra Bullock came into his life through adoption, and today he's nearly grown up. If you've ever been curious about Sandra Bullock's path to becoming a mom and how her son is doing now, you've come to the perfect spot. Just stay with me until the very end. The path to adopting. Sandra Bullock's road to becoming a parent via adoption started with a strong wish to create a family and offer a loving home to a child in need. In 2005, the massive storm known as Hurricane Katrina left countless families shattered and many kids without parents. That event, which could have changed the course of baby Louis's life in profound ways, ended up linking him to the accomplished actress. Even with all her achievements in Hollywood, Bullock had always yearned to be a mother, and choosing adoption felt like the perfect fit for her. In a conversation with Parenting magazine back in 2018, she talked about how she had known deep down for a long time that this was her calling. She put it simply, being a parent was something she carried in her heart long before it became reality. It seemed destined. She and her then-husband Jesse James kicked off the adoption journey together around 2006, and in January 2010, they brought home Louis Bardo Bullock, a newborn from New Orleans. But that same year brought heartbreak when details of James's cheating came out, making their marriage unbearable, and they soon headed for divorce. As you might imagine, the timing couldn't have been harder. The moment the scandal broke, everything about the adoption grew more difficult and filled with emotion. Bullock suddenly faced a flood of tough questions she wasn't prepared for. On top of that, she had to push forward with finalizing Louis's adoption alone as a single mom. In a discussion with People magazine, she described how everything shifted in an instant. She had to navigate her own sorrow while making sure the turmoil didn't touch Louis. Yet she stayed committed to going through with it by herself. Despite the chaos, she felt an instant, unbreakable connection with him. From the first moment she held him, she knew he belonged with her. Her devotion never wavered, even amid her own struggles. In a moving appearance on CBS Sunday Morning, she explained that so much was falling apart around her, but her focus had to stay on him. She didn't want her pain to affect his fresh start, especially since newborns pick up on everything. The adoption became official later that year. Many people might have stepped back from it all, given that she was now separated from the partner she started the process with. Becoming a single parent carried its own judgments, which society hasn't always handled kindly. But in a 2013 chat with British Vogue, she opened up about how profoundly Louis changed her world. Adopting him wasn't just about bringing home a child, it gave her a whole new direction. Motherhood reshaped her priorities and filled her days with fresh significance. She had challenges to overcome, like never having cared for an infant in that way before, but their connection only deepened over time. Looking back, she has said that pushing ahead with the adoption through her divorce was one of the greatest decisions she ever made. Having Louis made her tougher, more courageous, and capable in ways she never imagined. You might assume that after one such experience, she would stop there, but she went on to welcome another child. In 2015, she adopted her daughter Layla. One perspective is that she simply had the resources to grow her family further, but more than that, she wanted to give Louis a sibling so he wouldn't be raised alone. It has brought so many rewards for Sandra. Beyond that, she has emerged as a strong advocate for adoption, and her experience as a solo parent has inspired countless women who might hesitate to take that step for various reasons. Louis's younger years. Sandra Bullock's first chapter with her son Louis involved a dedicated effort to juggle parenting duties with her demanding job while guarding his privacy fiercely. Right after bringing him home in 2010, Bullock turned her attention to creating a secure and caring space for him, even as her career was soaring with big projects like Gravity and The Heat. She has mentioned in conversations that raising a child became the most fulfilling aspect of her life, far outweighing any Hollywood triumphs. From the start, she did everything possible to keep Lewis away from public attention. She was determined to shield his early life and give him the chance at an ordinary upbringing, free from constant scrutiny. In talks with People, she even shared how Lewis, at just 6 years old, influenced her to pass on a film opportunity. That kind of input isn't common, but it highlighted their close relationship and his grasp of her work. She has often called him wise beyond his years, like someone with an old soul. For a high-profile star deeply immersed in her craft, no one would fault her for pausing after one kid, but she thought about how isolated Lewis might feel during her long shoots. So in 2015, she brought home Layla, who was 3 years old at the time of adoption, also from Louisiana. Their sibling relationship formed quickly. Bullock has described how they complement each other perfectly, with Lewis as the calm, reflective one, and Layla full of energy and boldness. She has noted that bringing Layla into the family wasn't straightforward, as a photographer intrusion nearly derailed things, but she persisted until it was complete. Before diving deeper, it's worth exploring Sandra Bullock's own background and what drove her toward parenthood. A closer look at Sandra Bullock's world. Sandra Bullock's professional successes and private experiences have intertwined over the years, especially as she has shifted more toward family life. Famous for her range as a performer, she gained massive recognition in the 1990s through hits like Speed in 1994 and While You Were Sleeping in 1995. Her accomplishments continued with praised performances in films such as Miss Congeniality in 2000 and The Blind Side in 2009. Her strength shone through particularly after her widely covered split from Jesse James in 2010. After that, she welcomed Lewis through adoption, followed by Layla 5 years on. Since the divorce, Sandra has kept her love life mostly out of the spotlight. She shared a committed partnership with photographer Brian Randall starting in 2015, keeping things low-key. She spoke of him as a steady presence and key part in helping care for her kids until his passing. Reasons behind adopting Black children and the discussions around it. Folks have directly asked her things like whether she's really their parent or why her background doesn't match theirs. It might seem amusing in a way, but it's a serious topic. As a white star, one difficulty Sandra Bullock encounters is fielding ongoing, sometimes absurd inquiries about choosing to adopt Black kids. Welcoming Lewis and Layla has led to varied responses and guesses from the public over time. Many have pondered why a white performer like Bullock selected Black children for adoption. In discussions, Bullock has clarified that race never played a role in her choice. It was purely about affection and offering a secure, caring environment to kids who needed it. She stresses that her kids arrived in her life so naturally, and skin color wasn't part of the equation. Bullock has been candid about how lengthy and tough adoption can be, yet her ties to her children formed right away with powerful feelings. She recalls that overwhelming connection the instant she met Lewis from New Orleans in 2010. With Layla in 2015, she felt her home wasn't whole until she arrived. Fundamentally, her motivation came from wanting to parent and provide for children in need, no matter their background. That said, there have been doubts and critiques regarding her decisions. Some wondered if high-profile adoptions like hers aimed for publicity or to make statements. Bullock tends to guard her privacy, but has advocated for transracial families, pointing out that a child's happiness matters most, not matching appearances. She has stood up for her household by saying her kids come first, and she has poured effort into building a supportive space for them. In November 2021, she joined Jada Pinkett Smith on Red Table Talk, where they had an open dialogue about parenting 2 Black children. The conversation let Bullock discuss the hurdles and growth involved as a white parent raising Black kids in this country. A key point was societal differences in treatment and how she works to prepare herself for what her children might encounter. She acknowledged sometimes feeling overly sheltered and aware that others view her kids differently because of race. Bullock shared concerns about how the world could respond to them based on appearance. She also addressed parenting Black children and worries for their safety, especially in encounters with authorities. In one touching part, she said she shares the emotions any mother with darker skin would feel toward her child. It's that core bond, but their different backgrounds mean extra conversations are needed. Jada Pinkett Smith, along with Adrienne Banfield Norris and Willow Smith, highlighted how vital such talks are, stressing the need to support and stand up for Black youth in a biased world. Bullock noted how Lewis, and Layla have heightened her awareness of her own advantages and taught her more about identity, compassion, and understanding. Keeping life private, photographers and outlets make their living capturing stars with their families, but Sandra Bullock has never been comfortable with that. She knows all too well how exposure can strip away a child's sense of normalcy and innocence. That's why she has prioritized raising Louis and Layla far from public view. Her commitment to privacy became especially evident when she adopted Louis in 2010. She has been the kind of parent who would do anything to prevent unwanted photos of her kids. Understanding fame's downsides, she aimed to let Louis and Layla develop without the constant weight of attention. To maintain that normal routine for Louis, Bullock shares very few details about their everyday moments. She deliberately avoids bringing her children to industry gatherings, only letting them join public outings in careful settings. She has said her kids mean the world to her, and their happiness takes precedence over everything, including work. On the topic of parenting, Bullock has explained that her children define who she is, and she is extremely careful with them. She hopes to give them the most typical upbringing possible. Bullock has also talked openly about how much Louis has shaped her. She often highlights how motherhood shifted her focus, bringing deeper fulfillment and happiness. In a 2018 conversation with InStyle, Bullock admitted that it finally hit her. This is what she was meant for all along, not just starring in films, but raising a family. She has portrayed Louis as remarkably mature for his age, full of insight and gentleness from early on. She attributes a fresh outlook on priorities to him, helping her concentrate on the truly meaningful things. In another discussion, Bullock described their strong mutual understanding. Louis truly sees her, and that dynamic has reshaped her views on being a parent and a woman in the industry. Her main goal remains creating a safe, steady home for him and Layla. While Bullock has mostly shielded Louis from view, there have been a handful of special times he joined her publicly. One was in 2013 at the Venice Film Festival for Gravity, a rare outing together. Another was in 2018 at the People's Choice Awards, where she won for Best Actress. Though he stayed off the carpet, he was there cheering from the seats. These instances show her thoughtful way of mixing her career with family, always putting their comfort first. Louis's character through the years. Over time, whenever Sandra Bullock fields questions about her son Louis, she speaks with clear admiration and warmth. She portrays him as reflective, caring, and exceptionally mature. In that same 2018 InStyle piece, she called Louis the kindest, most considerate person she knows, feeling incredibly fortunate to be his parent. She has highlighted his steady, grounded personality, which helps keep her centered. Bullock describes him as naturally tuned into feelings, often sensing when others need support, especially if she's having a rough day. In a chat on Today with Hoda Kotb, she recounted how Louis once reassured her during a low moment, telling her she wasn't alone and he'd always be there. That was one of many examples of his thoughtful side. As for what captures his attention, given his sheltered upbringing, those details stay mostly private to respect his space. Still, she has mentioned his enjoyment of artistic pursuits, music, and hands-on creation. He loves working with building sets or coming up with imaginative ideas. In talks with People, she noted how he always looks forward, brainstorming new concepts. Bullock supports this side of him by giving him room to follow what excites him without limits. She wants both her children to feel comfortable exploring self-expression, and Louis's creative streak fits right into that. Sandra Bullock's approach to raising kids. Sandra Bullock follows a deliberate, caring parenting style that has shaped Louis into the empathetic person she describes so proudly. Her method centers on fostering independence, imagination, and kindness in her children. In various conversations, Bullock has said her biggest hope is for them to become decent humans who value empathy, forgiveness, and effort. She has been straightforward about the realities of solo parenting alongside a busy schedule. In a USA Today interview, she talked about wanting them to grow confident in their abilities, knowing they can achieve whatever they pursue. She encourages Louis to chase interests and handle choices on his own, building self-reliance early. Sandra Bullock's giving back and involvement. It's natural to ask if Bullock contributes to causes beyond her family. She has a strong track record of philanthropy, especially around kids, learning, and relief efforts. Her support goes further than promoting adoption, Her giving is a core part of who she is, matching her screen legacy. Bullock has given millions to groups like the American Red Cross, particularly after disasters such as Katrina and the Haiti earthquake in 2010. She also backs efforts for youth and schooling, quietly helping programs that assist kids in foster systems, the very path that brought her to motherhood. Her own story has fueled work to enhance opportunities for vulnerable children and push for better policies in foster care and adoption. Bullock's reach extends past entertainment. She uses her influence to spotlight needs of young people and underserved groups. Like with Louis and Layla, she keeps advocating for a kinder, more welcoming future. Louis Bardo Bullock today. At around 15 or 16 years old now, Louis Bardo Bullock has largely stayed away from public attention to enjoy a typical teenage life. Sandra Bullock has worked hard to protect him from early fame pressures. A big part of his world is the everyday routine she has carefully preserved, even as a well-known figure. She keeps Louis and Layla shielded from constant media, raising them in a warm Los Angeles home without the chaos of photographers. Her choice to prioritize privacy has let Louis develop without celebrity burdens. While we rarely spot him at events or in stories, those near the family say he has a childhood rich in affection, safety, and ordinary experiences. In conversations, Sandra has noted how Louis embraces his big brother duties with Layla, looking out for her and stepping into a caring role naturally. Details on his specific pastimes remain limited for privacy, but glimpses suggest he is inquisitive and enjoys discovering new things. Family outings like hikes, cycling, or nature trips are part of their routine. Louis leads a well-rounded life, blending learning and activity. It's early for firm plans on his future path, but with his background, many options await, perhaps in arts, sciences, or even entertainment if he chooses. Sandra stresses supporting whatever passions drive her kids, so Louis's next steps will be worth following. When discussing teenage challenges, Sandra has said her style helps guide Louis and Layla toward kindness, awareness, and understanding of others. She emphasizes diverse perspectives in their home. As Louis is Black, she focuses on building his cultural pride and knowledge of heritage. Though no public steps into careers yet, his path looks bright. With his reflective personality and interest in the world, he seems poised for meaningful pursuits. One thing stands out. Equipped with strong values and unwavering support from Sandra, Louis has what he needs for fulfillment, no matter the direction. There's always the possibility he might explore show business like some star kids, but right now, he's centered on school and typical teen moments, away from attention. What are your thoughts on Sandra Bullock and her son Louis? Do you feel she's handling parenthood well, or could she adjust in some ways? Share in the comments down below. If this resonated with you, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more stories just like it.